Synthetic melatonin supplements may not be right for you if you're having sleep problems. I'll say that again. Synthetic melatonin supplements may not be the best choice for you if you're having issues with sleep. Recently, Dr. Tracey Marks did a really good video on sleep problems, really concerning people who have ADHD and also bipolar disorder. It was noted that during periods of mania, they can really suffer from really severe issues of not getting any sleep at all. Her recommendation was using low-dose melatonin. A lot of times, though, when people come to me, they don't want to use any artificial synthetic substances. I specialize in helping people with holistic sleep methods. So one of the ways I wanted to talk about today is how can you supplement with melatonin without relying on synthetic supplements. So one of the way we're going to look at is really foods. And I'm going to have some notes here to refer as well. Some of the reasons that people don't want to use the synthetic version, they really prefer holistic health treatments, alternative health, functional medicine. Some people have come to me, they just have not had good experiences with melatonin. They've either had side effects from it or it just stopped working altogether or never really worked at all. So that's something major we want to go into, look at some of those side effects. Some of the melatonin side effects that people can experience include definitely drowsiness. Having that daytime drowsiness where they're groggy throughout the day. Changes in their mood can also be seen where they can have anxiety, panic, feelings of depression, and just being overall irritable. Headaches can also occur, especially people who are prone to migraines and sleep issues. Melatonin may not be the right answer for them. Also, people who experience any type of dizziness, whether there's some issues with the inner ear problem or some other causes for their dizziness, melatonin can actually aggravate that. Mood disorders, we talked about that. I've had a couple of clients come to me and tell me that they have overly, really explicit and very super vivid dreams, almost to the point that they're night terrors and nightmares. While it helped them to get them to sleep, they couldn't stay asleep because of the nightmares and the night terrors, which totally defeats the effect of taking the melatonin. Another thing Dr. Tracey Marks mentioned, that there's ongoing studies, which is really concerning to me. I used to be a pediatric clinical pharmacist dealing with children and peds and babies and adolescents. And some of them do take melatonin, but there's been some studies that this may actually delay puberty in some of these children. This is highly, highly concerning. That there could be hormonal imbalances. The jury is still out. It's not showing that it's 100% true, but it's something to be cautious about if you're giving melatonin to an adolescent, a preteen, or a child. Also, gastrointestinal disturbances could be an issue where there's nausea, vomiting, any type of diarrhea or stomach cramping could be seen. There are a multitude of drug interactions. That's one thing with my background as a clinical pharmacist. I work one-on-one with my clients to make sure that their supplements, their herbs, their vitamins aren't interacting with any other medications that their doctor has recommended for them. So those are some of the really basic reasons. Another frightening reason is, people who do find it effective, they don't want to become permanently dependent on melatonin. They want to be able to sleep naturally and basically using the tools that, that are just really available to us in nature to basically get to that sleep. So I have a big list of foods we're going to go over because there's actually ways to get melatonin from your food. A lot of people don't realize that. There's melatonin just naturally from Mother Nature in food. One of the foods that most people are familiar with would be the tart cherries. So, and regular cherries have them too. So if you can't find the tart version, the tart have more, but regular cherries also have this melatonin in them, actually up to almost 2 milligrams per cup of tart cherry juice. And you can purchase this at your local health food store. Also, pistachios, almonds, and walnuts have very high amounts of melatonin. So if you don't have I would say a nut allergy, that would be an issue. If you don't have any issues with nuts, those would be great choices as well. There's also various berries that have them, especially the goji berry is high also in melatonin. So that's another way where you could get your natural melatonin. Some of the things also include fatty fish, eggs, milk, tomatoes, and oats. I don't know if you've ever experienced having a bowl of oatmeal in the morning and feeling a little tired afterwards. It actually has melatonin and is probably better suited for a nighttime snack compared to a morning snack. One of my favorite melatonin treats is grapes. So a lot of people find that they, after having a glass of wine, they may seem to wind down. But a lot of that is not due to the alcohol. It's actually due to the melatonin that's in the grapes themselves. So some of the like a fun thing to eat. And we try and do eating and drinking at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime so that your body has enough time to actually digest your food. And then it can really conserve that energy to get you to sleep at night. So about 2 to 3 hours before bedtime is a delicious grape smoothie. It could just be a mono fruit grape smoothie, or mix it with a little bananas so you can get a little extra thickness to it. The bananas give you a little extra magnesium, which we'll talk about later. So that's another great way to really get that in. Another way is consuming foods high in tryptophan. Now, tryptophan is an amino acid that's found in our food. It leads to serotonin. We know serotonin is that feel-good hormone that we all feel good about. And it's actually the precursor to melatonin. So some of your high tryptophan foods, I know we've all experienced Thanksgiving dinner, where we, after having all that turkey, we just feel like we could just pass out now and take a long nap. That's because turkey is very high in tryptophan. So also you have milk, chicken, cheese, yogurt, fish, and eggs. So a lot of your meat products are high in tryptophan. Those people who aren't lactose intolerant, I personally have a lactose intolerance, so I wouldn't be doing the milk portion. But if you don't have that, that's why warm milk before bed can actually be a really nice sedative to help you get that sleep that you need. Now, if you are a vegetarian or just prefer more of a vegetable source for the tryptophan, once again, oats have that. So a great oatmeal would be good. Walnuts, you can find them in pumpkin seeds, chickpeas, lentils, and nutritional yeast also has tryptophan. So just as important as what you eat, whether it's, tryptophan high foods, melatonin high foods, it's also important what you don't eat. So the recommendation, I know a lot of people like to get up and really get that morning coffee in. The recommendation is that you should have a cutoff time for caffeine in general. So not just coffee, but if you're having coffee, hot cocoa, even, antioxidant rich green tea, the black teas, the white teas, all of those, even our favorite chocolates. Having a cutoff time before bed is best. So about 10 hours before. Also, you're going to find that these substances, they can disrupt the sleep cycle and actually reduce the amount of natural melatonin that you just naturally produce every day. So have a cutoff time. A really strict, great cutoff time is really no coffee afternoon, or have that cutoff time be 10 hours before your bedtime. So stop all coffee, caffeines, chocolates, hot cocos, teas, all that about 10 hours before bed. And that will definitely improve melatonin production naturally for yourself. Also, alcohol. Alcohol, a lot of people, and they're true when they say this, that alcohol helps them to go to sleep. But so many studies have been done to show that it highly disrupts our sleep architecture while we are asleep. And the sleep architecture, that's just a fancy name for all of the different phases of sleep. So you have your one phase, your two phase, your non-REM deep sleep, and then you have that REM very deep sleep that we all need to get every night. And we cycle through all of these phases all night long. So it's not just, it happens once. Alcohol prevents that. The alcohol can actually be very dehydrating, really taking a lot of the fluid out of your body. And actually, because of that dehydrating effect, people find that when they have a lot of alcohol, they have to get up throughout the night to urinate. And that really, really, really stops their sleep. So alcohol is highly disruptive. So if you're going to have, say, if you go to bed at 10 p.m., your cutoff time for that alcohol should be about 6 p.m. So if you have alcohol with, your evening dinner, I know some people say cut it out altogether. I personally keep it to an absolute minimum. I probably, have something a few times a year. That is probably eventually what you want to get to. But if it's your tradition to have, a glass of wine with dinner, that's fine. If around 6 p.m., you should be okay by 10, and it should not interfere with the melatonin production. So we went over different foods that have melatonin in it, the different foods that have the precursor to melatonin, the tryptophan. So these are all natural good ways to get natural melatonin without suffering the side effects from the synthetic supplements. Another thing Dr. Tracey Marks mentioned, that some of these supplements are not what they say on the bottle. And that's very disturbing to me as a pharmacist. There was a study done where I think the dose for a pediatric supplement said it would be 0.9 milligrams, and it was almost double that, up to 2 milligrams, when they actually did the clinical chemical analysis looking at this. So that's very disturbing that, some of the supplements that we buy in the store are not actually being true to form in terms of what they're advertising. There's one strength being advertised and a whole nother actually being given. So that's very, I find that really disturbing and upsetting, which is one of the reasons why I prefer to get various nutrients from natural foods if I can do that. So one of the other foods I wanted to talk about is magnesium-rich foods. Okay, so magnesium actually has an interplay also with melatonin. There's been recent studies that show here in the U.S., up to 70% of our population is deficient in magnesium. That is really telling, because our still number one disease is heart disease. And our heart really depends on this mineral for proper conduction. So it's very telling that, cardiac disease is still number one, and our magnesium is so low in our population. So there's various foods that actually can increase that. Once again, we have our seeds and our beans. We have our pumpkin seeds, almonds, doing spinach, cashews, black beans, dark chocolate, unsweetened. Don't add the whole sugar. That's a whole nother story. But dark chocolate that's unsweetened, cooked brown rice, and some of our green leafy vegetables such as kale, collard, and our turnip greens. There's chia seeds, avocados. So we have a lot of variety of foods that do contain magnesium. So our diets can be rich in this particular mineral if we just really take that time to really plan that out and get that together. So incorporating melatonin directly into your diet from all the various melatonin-rich foods, from the precursor to melatonin-rich foods, the tryptophan, and the magnesium-rich foods, which is really needed for our heart. It helps regulate our sleep immensely, and it's a natural relaxant. It relaxes every muscle in our body, which is really great when it's time to go to bed to get that sleep in. So if you want a few recipes, I do have a few in my starter kit. I have a free starter kit. The link is down below in the description. You can get that today, absolutely free to you all. It's going to give you amazing, great tips for sleep, some ideas for some recipes that are magnesium-rich recipes, tryptophan recipes, and there's also a melatonin smoothie I put in there as well. So you can go ahead and get that. And definitely look into how you can naturally, holistically add these melatonin, magnesium products into your diet so that you can get that better sleep that you require, that you need, and that you deserve.